So you've been sitting at home during the pandemic, and you've had some eye-opening realizations. All the things that you thought mattered seem kind of vain and empty now. All the things you found security in seem unsure. And your mind is starting to wonder if maybe, like that Stacey Orico song, there might be something more to life. Being faced with death everywhere makes you wonder what really does happen after we leave this planet. You start to think about the stories that you used to hear about God, and for a brief moment wonder if there's something there worth looking into. But before you can entertain the thought for very long, you start to remember why you didn't entertain this idea before. All of the hypocrisy. There was Annabelle in high school who used to judge everyone, thinking she was all high and mighty and better than everyone. That youth pastor who was inappropriate with one of your friends, and that family member who used to manipulate you with fear tactics just to get you to do what they wanted you to do, and the list goes on. Holding up the name of Christ have been some of the most judgmental, unloving people that you've met, and you would rather wear a tin hat than be associated with all of that. So, you push these thoughts out of your head and you go back to the mundane day-to-day activities and just try not to think about anything that really matters, like the meaning of life. If this sounds like you, then please keep listening, because too many people have missed out on the greatest adventure of their life over a lie. See, regardless of what people might call themselves, people who hate, judge, or make other kids of God feel less than are not following God, at least not at that moment. The Bible itself says that any man who claims to love God but hates his neighbor is a liar, and the love of God is not in him. The American church has sometimes become the opposite of the things that God actually taught, and far too often they forget that Christ's central message was grace. There was a time in my life where I also felt very unfairly judged by some members of the church, but I finally realized that some of those people that I considered the church were just people who went to a Sunday club. They couldn't possibly be the real church because, by definition, the church or a Christian is somebody who follows the teachings of God, and they prove by their actions that they did not. On the other hand, I've also been responsible for doing these very things to other people, genuinely thinking I was following God in those conversations. So I also have to ask you to have grace with those who are having a hard time showing it. Because the gospel never says anything about Christians being better than anyone or being perfect people. There simply, as the bumper sticker says, people who are grateful that they're forgiven. See, I do believe I'm part of God's family, but not because I earned it, but because I accepted a free pardon that is available to everyone and anyone who wants it and is available and is willing to follow Christ. People in Santel use a term called Thakarju, which means the genuine God. If you have a picture in your head of God that is off-putting because of false Christians or imperfect Christians, I implore you to let go of that false image of God and embrace the true God. There's a famous quote by C.S. Lewis that says, "How do I know a crooked line unless there was a straight line to compare it with?" In order for us to recognize imperfect love, perfect love must exist. That perfect love is the true God. See, I realized it wasn't actually God that I despised in these people. It was a lack of God, a lack of love that I saw many Christians demonstrating that made me mad. So while I would never encourage you to join a club of judgmentalism and hate, don't let disdain for that version of God stop you from abiding with the true God, the genuine God. I hope you'll consider these things, and I hope you guys have a blessed week.